Hey, welcome back for tip number 11. I'm Danielle.
I'm Chris.
And today we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the power of our words, words that are spoken both to your spouse and about your spouse.
Absolutely. There is so much in the Bible that talks about words and the power of your words. And it is something for us that we have taken very seriously in our marriage because we've both been in previous relationships where words were not guarded. And it creates a lot of pain and creates a lot of hurt. Even for men who try to be super tough, words can wound more than many other things.
Yeah. One of the scriptures that's really stuck out to me was Ephesians 4:29. It says, let no corrupt talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. It's really interesting because I've heard it, and we'll dive into this in later videos about the role of a husband and wife, male and female, within the marriage. But as the wife, I've heard that it is said that the home front is yours to protect, like you are the controller of the atmosphere of your home. And it's so powerful because we have so much power in the words that we speak to our spouse. And even I'm very cautious when we are having, if this were to happen, intense fellowship. I only have maybe two other women that first and foremost love the Lord, but that second love Chris and I both, that I know they're going to hear and what I'm sharing. And I can share as little or as much as I feel led to share, and that they're going to come alongside immediately in prayer. And I'm just going to protect, and it's never to shame or dishonor, disrespect my husband. It's, sometimes for the sake of, okay, well, I've unpacked all I can with him and he doesn't want to talk about this anymore right now. And I'm still needing to process. So I don't know what comes to mind for you when you think about words. And
well, along the same lines, really the first bullet I'll give you is to fight fair. And that's something that we try to keep in mind if we ever do have intense fellowship, which is pretty rare. But sometimes if there's something we just can't agree on, we try to fight fair, and that begins and ends really with our words in a lot of ways. So words largely reveal the condition of your heart too. So Proverbs 25:18 says, telling lies about others is as harmful as hitting them with an axe, wounding them with a sword, or shooting them with a sharp arrow. That's kind of a pretty tough visual to think about, but Carl Sandburg said, be careful with your words. Once they are said, they can only be forgiven, not forgotten. So it's super important to think about what you're saying, because there are just some things that we just don't say, some areas that we just don't go when we're talking or we are disagreeing on something. Divorce is not a word that we ever use in our home.
Yeah, even if you are mad or in the heat of the moment, which I'm just going to be honest, we all have these moments. Like, you are not alone. If you just had them today, like, just know everybody has the mountaintop experiences and the valley season, that you're just in a tough place. And we're here to be honest and real with you guys. And so we've had several of those, and I'm sure that there will be more to come in the future. But there are so many personal boundaries that you have to just say, nope, this is not a line I'm going to cross. And yes, throwing around careless words as empty threats is very dangerous territory.
Plants a seed
to rob your marriage.
Yeah. And so when we think about some of the other ways and how important the Lord feels about your words, Proverbs 15:4, gentle words bring life and health. The deceitful tongue crushes the spirit. Proverbs 16:24, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. So there are ways that you can build each other up to always keep in mind. And it's something that we think about often. So just a couple more to just bear in mind. Proverbs 18:4, a person's words can be life-giving water. Words of true wisdom are as refreshing as a bubbling brook. So when you think about it, between that and Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. There, you can either build up or tear down with words.
Yeah.
And if you have a marriage that you want to love and you want to continue to build on that marriage, there's no better way to do, well, there's a lot of good ways to do it, but one good way to continue that is to make sure that you're using your words to build each other up rather than tear each other down. If you are in the midst of a heated disagreement, get to the point of the disagreement so you can solve it and resolve it and move on and heal, not attack each other and do personal attacks that are only going to not resolve what's really at stake.
Yeah. And to that point, there is wisdom in pausing. There is wisdom in knowing I'm not showing up well, or you're not showing up well. So there was a situation today where I wasn't showing up well, and Chris was just like, you've got to go to a coffee shop and go just reset. And I knew we need to like unpack this a little bit more, but I wasn't showing up well. So it just wasn't going to be the best time. And it didn't mean that I wasn't being a team player. It didn't mean anything negative. It just meant, yes, we may need to unpack this a little bit more later, but right now is actually not the best time for a variety of reasons. And I still love you, and that's okay. And so that just had to be. And so it doesn't mean just in that heat of the moment. And I think too, sometimes when we are heated and things are highly emotional, the enemy would love nothing more than for us to dive in, to engage in discord and give way to just the tension and the frustration and harbor bitterness, just anything, a spirit of division, again, a spirit of offense. Those have got to be the boundaries that we set, that no spirit but the Holy Spirit is welcome in our marriage. We will not partner with a spirit of offense. We are not going to partner with a spirit of division.
Yeah. And I mean, Danielle just alluded to this perfectly. But James 3:5 says, in the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest fire. So what are you trying to build? You know, if you're trying to build a marriage you love, those words can either spread life or they can spread death. And that will either be something that continues to build your marriage to where you want it to be, or one that is going to just continue to tear each other apart. And so it's super important to think about how you disagree, how you talk to each other, how you communicate together, and how you really are trying to invest in the other person with words that are not going to tear each other apart.
Yeah. And we talked about this in the beginning, first few videos, but remember the two things that we always want to get back to are reconciliation and unity, because Proverbs also talks about a house divided cannot stand. And your house is this. This is where it all begins. And so if this is unhealthy, it's going to pour into everything else. And if your relationship with the Lord, like this is the foundation. And so ladies, I know that we are usually verbal processors, but I cannot encourage you enough. Still, as you're needing to process and unpackage, that is okay, but really choose carefully the words that you choose to describe, maybe about your spouse or about the discord that has transpired, because at the end of the day, you still need to go back and invest in your marriage. At the end of the day, you still are fighting for your marriage. At the end of the day, your spouse is actually not the enemy. The enemy is the enemy. And the enemy would love nothing more than for us to take our sights off of that and rather focus on, well, you're this, the problem is actually, and stay here.
Yeah. And, you know, I just kind of felt a check in my spirit to also talk to single folks and folks that are in relationships right now. And whatever you are experiencing now in your relationships, you know, and if you're watching this video because you're thinking about getting married too, that is only going to be magnified, whatever you're experiencing now, when you get married. So if you're seeing glimpses of words coming into play where you're not being built up and you're being attacked with words and
belittled, disrespected,
torn apart, you know, manipulated, whatever things you can think of that are coming at you right now.
Those are huge flags.
That is you better talk about it or you better run.
But don't just stay there,
because that's not going to get better with time.
Or stress with like add children in the mix.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the other side, back to the earlier point, men, we set the tone in the home too. So if we're at a place in a disagreement where we find ourselves about to say something, it's a good opportunity to walk away, get in the presence of God, put on some worship music, seek his presence, seek him first to make sure you can find yourself and make sure you are submitted to his authority first. So that way you were able to come back to the table and resolve whatever it is without saying something that you know will not be forgotten.
Yeah.
So being led by the
Or
Spirit.
that you're going to regret.
Yeah, absolutely. But being led by the Spirit as the head of the home starts with your daily encounters. And it's super important to make sure you're having those every day. So our 3 points were really fight fair. Second one is be careful with your words. And 3, it starts with your daily encounters. So anything else you want to add to that to wrap us up?
No, I think that's good.
Thanks for your time on this video. Can't wait to talk to you about the next one.